Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Developing the Leader Within. I'm Enrique, and this week I have someone that I've been after to speak on the podcast because what he does is really amazing. I'm a healthy, conscious kind of guy, except to the food part, right? So that's where my challenge is. And so I've been dying to get Ben Azadi with me. He is doing great things, just launched a book. I'm excited to hear about that. But Ben, first of all, thank you for being with us today. I know the listening audience is going to benefit from this conversation. But I'm going to give you a couple of minutes just to introduce yourself and tell us what you're about.
Yeah, thank you, Enrique. I'm grateful to be here with you today, and hello to your wonderful audience. My name is Ben Azadi. I'm somebody who went through my own health challenges back when I was younger, as an early adult, and I went through this transformation of losing 80 pounds. I used to be obese and physically and mentally obese. So I went through this 80-pound weight loss transformation, which got me really curious about health and nutrition. So that's what's got me started on my journey. That was back in 2008, where I became a personal trainer. I opened up a CrossFit gym, and then I got certified as a functional health practitioner. So fast forward to today, I'm on a mission here with my company, Keto Kamp, to get the message out to 1 billion people, to educate them and to inspire them and teach them these ancient healing strategies like ketosis and fasting so they could apply it and then allow their body to heal. So that's a little bit about what we're doing here at Keto Kamp.
I love it, and I reached out, and for folks that know anything about the podcast, this particular one, I reached out to my people way back in October. So this has been a thing that's on in the works since October, but I've been very anxious to it because I know that this last year, it's created some challenges for a lot of people. It's not the same as the years prior where you would go out and the freedom of going out, exercising in public and out in the parks and all these things changed. And so eating habits has also changed at home, right? Because what you eat at home may not necessarily be too good, but sometimes it's better than what you would eat out in the normal day-to-day work. And so I know for a fact that I hear you say, hey, it's just not a diet here. Right. So I understand that piece. But for those listening that never heard of keto or the processes behind it, can you tell us a little bit about that to educate the public?
Absolutely. Yeah. So keto is getting more popular nowadays. People will go on Dr. Google, they'll search in like, what is the keto diet? Or they'll hear about a friend who's done it. Maybe a friend has lost tremendous weight, or they'll see somebody post about it. The secret about keto is, like you said, Enrique, keto technically is not a diet, it's a metabolic process that every single one of our ancestors did. And that surprises a lot of people for them to be aware. Oh, did all of my ancestors do keto? Yes, they did, because their environment forced them into periods of time where they were in ketosis. What that means is you didn't have food readily available, you didn't have all these carbohydrates. So your body had to get energy from somewhere. So it starts to burn fat. The liver produces this ketone body, which then fuels the body and fuels the brain. And it turns out the body thrives when it's using ketones as a fuel source. Now, the way that I teach it is not dogmatic. I believe keto is great. I think it's a great tool, but it's not the only tool. So just like every single one of our ancestors did ketosis, they also got out of ketosis and then went back in. So that's the principle that I teach, called Keto Flex, which is the premise behind my book, Keto Flex. So when you could teach the body and the cells inside of the body to start burning fat as the primary fuel source, it has tremendous benefits. It helps with mental clarity. Of course, it helps with fat loss, but it also helps with inflammation, diabetes. It helps you prevent diseases and also reverse certain conditions. So the analogy I like to share, Enrique, is when we look at the body, there's 70 trillion cells inside of the body. But it turns out of those 70 trillion cells in the body, we could only burn two sources of fuel. Either we're burning glucose in the form of sugar, or we're burning fat and then producing ketones. The problem is this: most people are stuck as sugar burners. When I was obese, I was stuck as a sugar burner. Here's how you know if you're a sugar burner: you have to eat every 2 to 3 hours. It needs to be carbohydrates. You can't focus, you can't function without snacking throughout the day. That's a problem because it creates a lot of inflammation in the body. I compare a cell that's burning sugar to a truck that's speeding through the streets with all this smoke being blasted out of the exhaust pipe. That truck is not going to be healthy for the surrounding environment. Well, when your cells are stuck as sugar burners, it's not healthy for your cellular environment. So what I teach here at Keto Kamp is to teach your body and your cells to transition to a cleaner source of fuel, fat and ketones. I compare that to a Tesla cruising through your streets. That Tesla, cleaner source of energy for the surrounding environment, cleaner source of energy for your cellular environment. And that's exactly how you can do it with keto.
I love that. And, it's amazing how many things you can combine to create a holistic, healthy person. And this is just another, I love that you view it as a tool. Most people would just jump on something and then that's the end all to be all, but we know better. So thank you for that. Now, if I was, because I'm a novice, I told you earlier that keto was not part of my world. It just wasn't, right? Although you mentioned something before that, which was about the ancestors, and I did share some elements on the religious side. The fasting piece to better health, believe it or not. The Daniel fast that most of us in Christianity know, to be a very healthy way of living. And so I was familiar with that, but keto, until you came into my life through LinkedIn, I had no idea what keto was or any of that. And I started listening to your videos, looking, seeing your posts and all of that. I've been following your journey on your book, so congratulations on that. And we wish you continued success. So now I'm a person that's listening to this, and for those listening, let me just make this clear, right? Most people say, "Man, Enrique has so many different people on his show from different backgrounds." The reason why I do that real quickly is so that because I believe that leaders need to be educated on more than just their job and their surroundings. They have to know what people are in order to treat people where they are. And so this is an education piece to leaders that this is out there. There are some of your people may be in this, and you need to be at least aware of what it is, so that you can treat your employees, your teammates, your group accordingly to their lifestyle. So, but let's say I'm hearing this, I'm saying, man, this is pretty good. But I'm a novice, obviously. Where would I start to go down this journey?
Great question. The first thing to do is to gradually start decreasing your carbohydrates. Because when you think about, there's three macronutrients, there's carbohydrates, there's protein, and there's fat. The goal is to keep glucose, blood sugars low, and insulin low. Insulin is the only fat storage hormone in the body. When you spike glucose and insulin too frequently, too often, it's going to age you faster. It's going to lead to diabetes, cancer, etc. So when we look at the three macronutrients, carbs, protein, and fat, carbohydrates spike glucose and insulin more than the other two. So we want to start to decrease our carbohydrates. You could use an app to determine how many carbohydrates you're currently having. You could use an app like Chronometer or My Fitness Pal. There's several free apps out there. Let's say you're eating 300 grams of carbs a day, which the average American is doing that. So what you want to do to start is to drop 300 down to 200, and at the same time, start increasing healthy fats and protein. Eventually, you want to take your total carbohydrates to below 50 grams for the entire day. And at the same time, eating enough healthy fat and protein so that you're satisfied and satiated. Once you do that, and you're not snacking all day long, you're just having your 3 meals a day. Once you do that, you will be teaching your body now to burn fat, and your liver will be producing ketones. And that's the best way to get started. So if you're looking for like a list of foods to eat, I do have a free resource I'd love to share with your audience. KetoKampBlueprint.com. Camp is spelled with a K. KetoKampBlueprint.com has an aisle by aisle grocery shopping list for keto. Eat this on keto, don't eat this, and that'll give you an idea of what you should be eating.
Outstanding. I'll have that as part of the video, so all that are listening or viewing on YouTube can get that. Great resource. I appreciate that. So now I'm a leader, and so what do you advise leaders to be conscious of, especially when I was sharing with you a story about a leader that did not know what vegan was, and was shocked and surprised that someone coming to that organization was a vegan. They thought it was something else because they just didn't know. And so that's what I feel, that some leaders just don't know. And in not knowing, it can cause a lot of problems because people get together, they eat this and that, and you, a leader, want to offer, maybe, let's say, uh, a person comes in new to the company organization. You say, hey, let me take them out to lunch, and then you go, hey, can you want to go with me to this place? And all of a sudden you get this frown on the face because, hey, they don't eat that, they don't participate. So that's why I like to educate leaders. So in terms of leaders, what should I be conscious of when it comes to people that are, you know, in keto, doing, and exercising that methodology for health in their life?
Yeah, so I would say to ask them questions, right? It's important to ask them questions. Do you have people in your household who support you or who are actually against you? A lot of the times people want to change their dietary habits, and they do, whether it's keto or not, but then they get all this backlash from their coworkers or their friends, their family, and they fall off track because our environment is very important. It's going to determine our future. And I have come to see that when you change, when you start to make changes with your health or nutrition, fitness, whatever it is, business, when you change, you become a threat to everybody in your life who does not change. And it points a mirror right back to them. So it's important to understand that going into it, and then ask them questions. Ask them if they truly support your health. And if they do, then they wouldn't say things like, why are you doing keto? You're going to get a heart attack. Or why are you doing fasting? You're going to slow down your metabolism. So ask them the right questions, and then getting them on board in the beginning and setting those structures are going to be important for you as a leader.
Yeah, leadership that is listening, you know, I really value people, right? So I'm always wondering what makes people tick. And in wondering, that makes me ask questions. It only makes me understand them a whole lot better than normal day-to-day leaders that just grinding and saying, hey, this is what we got, this is the order of the day, let's get with this, without any thought to what stimulates, encourages, and motivates the people that are serving them. And in reality, the top server should be the leader. So ask the right questions from a person in keto, and also leaders ask questions. What do they need? How can you support them in their working environment? And you'll be amazed at how you supporting them will automatically turn out into them supporting you even more. So if you're a leader, consider those things. Uh, Now, I want to highlight, because I've been anxious about this for a while since you started talking about. Let's talk about Keto Flex, and I know you got a book somewhere around there. I would love for you to show it so people can look at it and find it. But tell us about the journey of the book, and a little bit of it, and we'll make sure to provide a link so they can go to that. But yeah, let us know about the book.
Thank you, Enrique. I'd be happy to. So I've been writing this book for a little over 2 years. It's finally complete. It's set to be released on April 12th. And it's going to teach you exactly the history of keto, and then understanding how it's a very powerful tool if you use it the right way. And it takes the reader through my 4 pillars. The first pillar is called adapt. So it teaches your body to adapt, to be fat adapted, to burn fat instead of sugar. Like I talked about the truck versus the Tesla. We teach that to you. That's 14 days, right? After doing that, you will be fat adapted in 14 days. The second pillar is called fast, where I teach you intermittent fasting strategies. We know that intermittent fasting, when you pair with keto, is a great 1-2 punch. So I get into the history of fasting, how to apply it, how it helps with brain performance, how it helps with fat loss and inflammation. So that's the second pillar. The third pillar is called phase. It's a 30-day protocol that actually phases out a lot of these anti-nutrients found in our nutrition. So a lot of these are called plant toxins, phytates, lectins. So we do a little bit of actually a nutritional approach called carnivore, which is the opposite of the vegan. But it's a great way to heal the gut. It's a 30-day protocol. Then you graduate from those three pillars and you move on to the best pillar, in my opinion, which is the Keto Flex pillar. And that's where we actually start flexing out of ketosis. I think keto is great. I don't think it's healthy long term. What we want to do is teach the body and the metabolism to burn fat, but then also have the flexibility to go back and forth between sugar and fat. So that's what the flex pillar, it's an entire chapter. And I share with you 4 ways to practice keto flexing. There's also a chapter in there on sleep. I believe sleep is so important. So I discuss 15 biohacks on sleep that will really make a big difference for you. There's a chapter on how to do keto and fasting for women and why they should do it differently than men. And then, of course, I have a lot of self-development principles sprinkled in there because I love talking about like what you speak about, Enrique, leadership and mindset. You got to exercise before you exercise. So I had to throw that in there. So it's a 311 pages. I believe it's going to be the best book on keto ever written. And I'm excited to get it out there to the world.
Well, I'm excited to get my hands on one as soon as it's available.
Yes.
I'm going to be reaching out for you to sign me one.
I'll
But
yeah.
but I tell you, leaders listening, and I love that, going from adoption to flexing, being
Yeah.
able to manage that now. It's another tool in your arsenal for healthy living, for being holistic in health in your life. And I love that. Leaders, uh, if you are looking to get into the knowledge base on keto, that's a good book to buy and to read and educate yourself. You may provide some education for those going down the road of keto, and
Right.
and it would be amazing if one of your workers or one of your teammates would come to you with a question or come to you explaining, and you say, "Hey, I know a little bit about that. That's great."
Yeah.
So, so it'll be available on
April
Amazon.
April 12th, Amazon. Yeah, they could pre-order it now if this is coming out before. If they go to ketoflexbook.com, it's available for pre-order right now on Kindle. And then on April 12th, it'll be available both paperback and Kindle, Amazon. Yeah.
Outstanding. Can't wait to get a copy. So if someone was interested, wanting to go to the source, because that's another thing I love bringing to the audience, the true source. So they want to go and ask you some questions, or maybe uh, reach out for consulting, or maybe have you speak, or present your book. How could they do that if they wanted that?
Yeah, thank you for asking me the question. I mean, I'm very accessible on Instagram. If you want to check me out on Instagram at the Ben Azadi. If you want to ask me more to speak at on your podcast or at your event, then you could just email me and my team over at support@ketokamp.com. Also, you can find all that on my website, which is just benazadi.com. I would love to hear from you, whether it's a question or a comment, or you want me to speak at your event or podcast. The goal is just to get the message out there and educate and inspire 1 billion people. So any opportunity, I'm grateful for that.
Outstanding. So, folks, this is not a new thing, as you heard Ben say. This is a generational thing. This has happened before, but it's nice to get it all packaged up and have it accessible as one of the tools in your arsenal for healthy living. Leadership, if you're listening, some of your folks may be going down this road. It'd be best if you educate yourself and be a resource and a support mechanism for them. And for those wanting to go down this road, reach out to Ben, follow him on his website, get his book, get educated as well. Ben, it's been a pleasure to have you on the show. I've been waiting for a while. And so, I wish you all continued success on Keto Kamp, the book. I'll definitely be a supporter. Would you have some parting advice for those that are, wanting to go down this road, get a little more information?
Yeah, thank you for the kind words. I'm grateful to be on your show. You're doing awesome work, educating your community. So thank you, Enrique. Yeah, the parting words would be this. The human body is remarkable. I always say you are a masterpiece because you are a piece of the master, and you were built to thrive, not to just survive and get disease. But then when you look out there, you see people who are living in fear, you see disease, you see cancer, diabetes. We're not designed for that. Something is interfering. So what we want to do is, number one, and I talk about this in my book, but there's three principles to healing and living a long, healthy life. Number one, identify interference, right? We talked about on this podcast just today, what is interfering? Eating high carbohydrates, snacking all the time. That's one thing, right? There's many things that interfere, but identify interference, number one. Number two, remove that interference, right? You start reducing your carb, you start doing healthy keto, you take action on that. And then number three, just allow your body to heal. And your body will heal, whether you're dealing with a serious condition or just a symptom or whatever it is. It's identify interference, remove the interference, and let your body heal. So I want your audience to understand how amazing their body is. We just have to do our part and remove the interference.
I totally agree. Thank you for that, Ben. Thank you for being with us. For those looking or viewing on YouTube, I got my Military Fresh shirt on. That's my boy Jimmy Cox up in New York with Military Fresh Network. Thank you, Jimmy. But for everybody listening, thank you, Ben. Thank you, audience. And as we like to close this show, success to you.